Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines and, most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, you guys. Anybody who comes on my show, this one or my twice a week long form podcast, rest assured, is a transportation professional, you guys. There is no theory on any of my stuff. There's nobody who thinks, trucks sound cool or couldn't point out what a fifth wheel was if their life depended on it. This is brought to you by transportation professionals for transportation professionals. At the end of the day, you guys, it's so you can apply this information, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. It's why I proudly fly this American flag behind me every single day. Not only is this the greatest nation on earth, but I'm living my American dream, and I want to help you guys live your American dream as well. I got a very special guest for you guys today. And before I bring him up, you guys, as always, I got to give a shout out to my friends over at VHub, vhubapp.com. Whether you're a broker, carrier, or a shipper alike, we all need access to trailers. And especially right now, for my small fleets, for my owner operators out there, you should never have to shut your operation down because you have a trailer in the shop. And the best part, you guys, is you get paid to move these trailers. That's right. You get paid. On top of the revenue that you can get by loading this trailer out, you get paid to move these. So what they're working on right now, you guys, is they got Paragould, Arkansas, going to Orting, Washington. You get $15.50 to move that dry van. They also have a couple of offers out there. So what you do is you go onto their platform and you put an offer in. They have a heated van in Macedonia, Ohio, looking to go to Mississauga, Ontario. They also have a reefer down in McDonough, Georgia, looking to go to Mississauga, Ontario. And again, go in there and mark and put your offer in. And then finally, they have Milton, Ontario to Moncton, New Brunswick. They got a dry van for that, you guys, and that pays 400 Canadian. So hit them up, vhubapp.com. My friends Xavier Campos and Stacey Steen, they will be in the audience. Just do me a favor, you guys. Let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. David K., good fucking morning. Let's go. Drayage from New Jersey, New York ports. He's got that out there. All right, I'm going to bring my friend up here, you guys. We're going to break down some articles and talk about what it is that he is up to these days. So I got Mr. Christopher Mix here with LoadSmart. So what's up, brother? How are you?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. A lot better than that Chicago snowstorm that you're dealing with right now, man. But like you said, you've been there for a while. You're used to it.
Yeah. I mean, when I first moved here, winters were a little tough, but after, a dozen or so years, you get used to it. And, it's just another day. So jealous of the weather you probably get year round out in Phoenix, but, the summer's a little more brutal out there.
It is pretty sweet, but dude, I'm from northern Wisconsin originally, so I paid my dues. I know what 30 below feels like, and I'll take 110 any day over the summer. 30 below is miserable.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So, dude, what brought you into this industry, man? How did you get into transportation?
Yeah, funny enough, so I graduated in college in 2009. I was a finance major, and I think like a lot of, finance accounting majors that graduated during, the Great Recession, jobs were not very plentiful. Yeah. I always wanted to move to Chicago. I had a lot of friends here. A lot of my friends from college were moving here. So I kind of just moved on a whim, didn't have, a job lined up, interviewed at a bunch of different places. I had some friends that were starting at other 3PLs. So I ended up getting a job at Schneider Logistics, 3PL side, for Schneider National, on doing carrier sales, and kind of, just fell in love with it. I liked the energy of the floor. I liked, how every day was different, closing deals and getting things moved from point A to point B. So spent a couple years doing that, went into the leadership side of things. And then in 2017, I went to Arrive Logistics. And started their strategic solutions team, and did that for 3.5 years, really helped scale out what they were doing. And then LoadSmart came calling, and I was really interested just around the technology side of things. And I think, if anyone that's paying attention to the industry, there's definitely been a shift over the years, and technology is playing, a larger and larger role. I remember, it's funny, I talked to some of the reps, some of which you see behind me. I remember when I first started, we were still sending confirmations via fax.
Oh, yeah.
And you flash forward to today, and we have digital freight marketplaces, and the ability to just go on and accept a load, and so it's changed significantly. And that's one of the things that I saw. This is the direction that the industry was going. LoadSmart was on the cutting edge of that, and wanted to be a part. So came here about 2 years ago, and haven't looked back since.
Yeah, man. So like you've seen quite a few market shifts in your career. You've experienced the freight market that we are currently in, and what 2023 is going to shape out. How are you working with your teams on working on the capacity side? Like, because again, in my opinion, if there's consistent freight out there, man, up to 90% of it should be booked with the same carriers. Like, I don't personally subscribe to the narrative of, oh, just go out to a load board or anything like that. I want to use the same trucks time and time again for literally everything. I know it might cost me a little bit more money, but it's worth its weight in gold to not have to deal with a lot of the BS that we normally have to with it. So like, how are you working with your teams right now? And how are you guys like selling that to your customer base?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is, I think there's been a noticeable shift in the market going back, from what we saw post kind of COVID outbreak to where we're at now. I think the name of the game in what we, teach and coach, our team is it's all about relationships. So this is a great time. I look at a soft market as a great time for carrier reps to really get in with new carriers, maybe people that didn't have capacity when the market was tight, and start to develop those relationships. We look at our contractual business. We run it very much like a shipper does. So, awards that we get from customers, we have pricing events. We go out, we get rates from carriers. We utilize some of our own software to do that. And then we're able to build routing guides in our system that automate the tendering from primary down to however many carriers we have in that routing guide, kind of before it then hits our open board. So yeah, it's a soft market. We all know that, but now is the time to really start to build out your book of business. And as we shift into a tighter market, you'll have those relationships to where you won't be. You'll still be able to get capacity from those people, from those carriers. I think the big thing that we pay attention to, and I'm sure a lot of your other listeners are doing the same, but it's all about service right now. And regardless of the technology that you have and how great that is, at the end of the day, if you can't service your customers at a high level, what do they need you for, right? So, we're continuing to push and try and perfect service and deliver at the highest level by using, using consistent carriers, but also quality carriers.
Yeah, I mean, I say it a lot, Chris. I'm like, your technology is meaningless if your trucks can't show up, and that's like, and I've seen that shift happen, like with the rise of marketplaces and digital transactions and everything. Is it's almost like taking a step back, and they're like, they want to automate everything. And while I will sit here and say 95% of my operation should be automated as a freight brokerage, but you can never automate what you brought up initially, and that's the relationship. My customer needs somebody to yell at when things are going wrong, not an email, not an AI bot. They need to yell at Chris, and I will take it. I will take that beating, because you know what? That's what I'm here for. That's why they pay me at the end of the day. But you can alleviate a lot of those conversations if you're proactive in your approach. Like, when things go wrong, instead of waiting to the last minute, we all know if a truck's running late. A lot of us can add, even though I went to public school, I don't know about you, Chris, but I can add, and I know hours of operation in transit. I know what's going to work and what's not. So I would always rather err on the side of caution and let my customer know, hey, this is where the truck is. We're 10 hours out. This is the plan. It could be close, but I would rather have today than 10 minutes before or 10 minutes after.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's all about communication, and, exactly, being proactive and sharing that, 10 hours in advance versus an hour after, a driver is supposed to be there. Yeah. That way, they can maybe make changes on their end. So if they have a carrier that's running early, can they slot them in? So that way they're getting those efficiencies kind of with their unloading staff. right? There's a lot of different things that just being proactive with communication, can help alleviate. So yeah, I completely, we're on the same page there.
No, definitely, man. Well, hey, I'm going to give some shout outs and let's get into some articles here. We got Rick Wooten. He's coming in. Good morning. Stephen Peterson. Good morning. Edgar says Mick is legendary and Arrive misses you. Echevera. Julia, what's going on? Good morning. She says, I do love your show. Very informative and helpful. Keep on speaking the truth every day, Julia. Every single day. I'm assuming you used to work with Edgar there just based off of that little chuckle.
I did. Yeah. That's funny.
Oh, that's great, man. Well, hey, dude, I always put a thing out there. This is the 207th live show that I've done so far. And I bring that up because I am always on, I'm about progress in this industry. And I'm always about bringing up the fact that there's a parking issue in this industry. There's a facilities issue in this industry. Like drivers don't have access to showers and, basic necessities that we would expect of ourselves. So for me, it's not about bringing it up during like driver appreciation week. It's about bringing this stuff every single day until there's actual meaningful change out there.
Definitely.
And also, subtle reminder to my driver friends out there who are watching, I do apologize for having to bring this up, but fuel is still at $4.60 a gallon nationwide, and it is up 82 cents year over year. I get that from the EIA, you guys, EIA.gov. Denise Favor, good morning. Thanks for jumping in here. All right, first article we're going to break down, you guys, ttnews.com. Truck tonnage rises 3.8% in 2022. Compared to the prior year, it posted its highest year-over-year gain in 4 years, despite closing out with modest December results, the American Trucking Association reported. The ATA for-hire truck tonnage index inched up 0.3% to 115.2 compared with December 2021, and it was 0.4% compared with 114.8 results reported in November. The Federation said January 24th. Their chief economist, Bob Costello, said the annual 3.8% gain was the strongest since 2018 and marked the 16th consecutive year-over-year increase. Still, it was the smallest annual jump, and that span reflected in a freight market that slowed as the year drew to a close. Despite the small gain in December, for-hire truck tonnage clearly decelerated during the final quarter in 22. The index's yearly gains were primarily driven by strength in the first half of 2022. So despite a marked slowdown at the year's end, for the year as a whole, tonnage posted a very solid overall. And then it also outperformed some other key metrics such as drive truck freight, like housing starts and factory output during the final month of the year. And this is probably because contracted truckload freight is still outperforming the spot market and less than truckload freight after underperforming both of those sectors in 2021. So when you're hearing that, man, again, like I think that the truck tonnage number, although good, it doesn't really I view it as like the nuts and bolts of the industry. And it seems like with last year, and there's going to be a seismic shift, I think, in 2023 when it comes down to it, because when people went out for contracted loads, they had to rebid at a lower price. Like no one was going to honor, like you wouldn't even have been invited to an RFP if your plan was to keep the rates the same.
Yep. Yeah, no, I think the article is interesting. I think it says in there, about that it's mainly calculated through contractual freight, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it's no surprise to anybody. Contractual freight was probably up last year. When we're seeing primary tender acceptance at 95%. I think there's another part in the article that shows that was, we saw a slowdown there in Q4, which, I talked to one of our analysts and, he sees this as a pretty bearish sign for 2023, at least probably the first half of 2023. So, it's going to be all about, like I mentioned earlier, service is going to be the name of the game this year, as well as being able to provide competitive pricing. Hopefully we don't see the situation that we've seen time and time again, where I think people just submit paper rates that, when the market does shift, are they going to then go back to customers and try and renegotiate rates? And we kind of just start this entire cycle over again. But yeah, that's to be seen.
So I think because from my perspective this year, and I talk about this a lot, man, I think like we're at some point this year, and I won't put a crystal ball behind it and say by a specific month, but like contract and spot are going to be damn near identical to each other from a rate. And then that's where you're going to start to see tender rejections start to rise exponentially. And then I don't know about you, but I know for me personally as a sales rep at times, when you're working for certain companies, the name of the game is just to swallow up market share when it's going to be slow, because you need that revenue coming through your books. You're not as concerned about turning a profit. And so like my message to a lot of people is as the year progresses, those tender rejections are going to start to increase. So those spot market opportunities are going to start to increase at some point this year, because I think we're in a normal freight cycle. I called it out yesterday or a Monday show where, the typical freight cycle, you're going to see produce kick in, then the holidays, and then, like where all the peaks and the valleys are. So I think like going into it, like right now in particular, like this is prime prospecting time, because everyone's going to be good right now. All right. Because if you're not on an RFP already, like you're not going to be added to their RFP this year, because that's already been bid, that's already being processed. But where you will find your opportunity is when those spot market loads come about. They're fall off freight, they're last minute freight. You're going to be there. And if you're not prospecting, if you're not putting yourself out there right now, you'll never be invited.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely tough. I mean, a lot of our reps on the customer side, are experiencing that every day. But the customers that we've had relationships with for 3, 4, 5 years, that's where we're seeing significant growth because of the value that we've provided them over the years. And when we go to them and say, hey, we'd like to grow our contractual business by 20 or 25%. Here's how we did from an on-time pick. Here's how we did from an on-time delivery percentage, automated tracking, communication scores, all of those things. We have that kind of resume to back that up. But yeah, for new customers, there's going to be opportunity at some point this year. And a lot of times it kind of takes being that hero, saving the day on, like you mentioned, one of those last minute fall offs or, same day recoveries, things like that.
And and that's the thing is I want people to be prepared for that this year, Chris. It's not going to be a Tuesday at noon pickup and a Thursday at 8 a.m. delivery, 20,000 pounds. It's going to be pickup at midnight on a Thursday, deliver Saturday at 2 a.m., driver assist. Might have to do some jumping jacks at the loading dock as well. Just that might be in the load requirement. I'm being sarcastic there, you guys. But again, like it's going to be in one of those situations where it's going to be one of those loads where like that's where you make your mark with the customer though. Like you're always going to start, at least as I don't know, some companies might have a different approach to this, but in my experience, you always start at their highest failure load no matter what, because it's their lowest risk and their highest reward. If you come in there and you execute upon that, that's where you're going to sit for a little bit. But again, that's where you start to grow, and that's how you keep competition out of their network.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think, if you're trying to approach a customer and you see their list of lanes and, you're trying to pick out the good ones. I mean, they have other providers for that. One thing that we coach here is, obviously where are customers struggling? Where are they having the most difficult time? Where is their tender acceptance the lowest? Where are they seeing the worst? Where are they seeing the worst performance against their SLAs? How can we develop capacity around that to provide value? And then, like I said, once you kind of prove your value, prove your worth there, start expanding to other parts of their network as well.
No, definitely, man. That article, you guys, ttnews.com, truck tonnage rises 3.8% in 2022. And as always, you guys, I will put the links to these articles over on the YouTube channel, The Freight Coach, as well as the Copy with the Freight Coach audio-only replay, which will be up on iTunes and Spotify a little bit later on today. And as always, you guys, if you guys go over to those other platforms, subscribe, share, rank the show, do all of that, you guys, because at the end of the day, this is how we've grown. This is how we are the top transportation show out there, is because of each and every one of you who get it out there. Because if you guys see value in this, your network's going to see value in this as well. Let's roll this right into this next article. And this is from the JOC. And it is talking about the U.S. truck freight recession is here, but not to stay. And this is from reporting done at the SMC 3 conference in Atlanta, which is going on right now. And then also from Bob Costello. He's just a man in every article today, it seems like. The most likely scenario for the macro economy is a mild and short recession, but the freight economy outlook is worse. He had said consumers are spending more on services than goods. U.S. manufacturing is slowed. Residential housing construction is in a recession, and big box retailers have overstocked inventories. You add all of that up and you have a freight recession, he says. That means lower volumes for carriers and lower rates for shippers, but it doesn't mean a freight market collapse. Brent Hutto, he's a chief relationship officer at Truckstop, pointed out that the spot pricing remains more than 20% above pre-pandemic 5-year averages. This feels like a recession because market activity was so high in 2021 and 2022. Adding spot rate has been fluctuating in a narrow range for several months, and then he didn't expect much further decline. Freight volumes are beginning to hit difficult year-over-year comparisons. The Cass Freight Shipment Index dropped 3.9% year-over-year in December, following a 0.4% decline in November. The measures of freight volume has declined sequentially for 5 consecutive months, and they all the speakers there, or other speakers, excuse me, not all, expect a freight recession will not be a long one. We've got this quarter and next quarter before we get through it. We'll hit bottom and flatten out before we come up. And then the expectation is spot pricing plateaus for a while and goes back up. And, so like what, again, current market stuff here, man, because like this is where a lot of the people who are listening to this are like, again, they're getting that objections from shippers. They're getting that, they're not seeing a lot of stuff transitioning out there. And again, like, because I've been talking about this for a few months, and we were already alluding to this, man. The market will rebound at some point this year, and it seems like a lot of the people now are willing to publicly say what they've probably been privately discussing here for a few months. So again, like they talk about cautious optimism in here. Like, how are you guys working with those carriers? Because again, 97% of the trucks on the road are small business. How are you guys working with them from your standpoint to keep them running right now? Are you guys bringing them multiple different loads? If they're running, say, Chicago to Columbus, great for you. Are you guys trying to get them on the Louisville, the Indianapolis, the Nashville, stuff like that?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think a big thing that we do here is we obviously want to understand, what our carriers' networks are, and, where we can be of assistance. Like I mentioned prior, we do hold quarterly pricing events so that we can get consistent rates from our carriers. One thing that we pride ourselves on is we're not the kind of broker that, when the market drops, we continue to try and push pricing down. If we make a contractual agreement with you, we will stick with that price, for the duration of that contract, whether it's, 90 days, whether it's 6 months, whether it's a year. And I think that helps kind of reinforce and maybe change the narrative a little bit for, how a lot of brokers operate. Right. And it's building that trust with our carriers. But yeah, it's getting more opportunities in front of them, whether that's stuff that we have, won from through RFPs, whether that's, ad hoc opportunities that come up from our customers. One thing we do, we see a lot of spot freight here as well, just due to all the integrations that we have. So we're able to see quote activity. One thing that we can glean from that data is obviously if we're seeing lanes in there multiple times, day after day after day, that clearly tells us that a customer might be having an issue for that. And we're able to approach customers and have that conversation and say, hey, we've seen this, spot load 20 or the spot lane 20 different times this month. We can provide you contractual capacity here and work with our carrier partners to fill that. So, it's all about communication, right? And kind of trying to take all these different pieces of the puzzle and put them together. One thing too, if a load does go to spot, it's always worth, reaching out to your customer and ask, is this something that was just a one-off, or, do you have this lane more consistently, and try and uncover consistent business there. And I think, if you have a consistent book of business, consistent lanes, that's how you're going to be able to grow as a rep, whether it's on the customer side or whether that's, on the carrier side of things.
What would you recommend to a carrier out there? Say they've been getting freight from a broker consistently. How would you want them to approach you to ask about a consistent basis? Like, again, I feel like it's on the broker to bring that up, but that doesn't always happen. So if I'm a carrier out there, what questions could I ask a broker to be like, hey, I want this load every single time you get it. I want to run this region. This facility works great for me. How would you recommend they go about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously one of those things where, if you are able to handle more, you obviously need to communicate that. I think it's one thing for a carrier to be able to take a lane consistently. I think it's a completely different to be able to service it consistently at a high level. And, that's really what we look at. We look at carrier on-time pick, on-time delivery percentage, are they helping us achieve, some of the goals that our customers have set out for us? And, the ones that are executing, at a very high level, those are the ones that we want to continue to grow with. And I think the other thing too, like over the years, brokers have become, much more of a force, I guess, in the contractual space where it's not just spot freight. And for, a lot of our mid-sized carriers, they might not have the ability to get in with a, Fortune 100 shipper, right? But we have a great relationship there and we have consistent business. And it's almost like looking at the broker as a customer, right? How would you, if we're offering you consistent drop and hook business, operate that just as you would be operating that directly for a customer. And, the more you enable us to succeed, the more we're going to want to continue to grow with you. That's one of our goals for this year is, we want to continue to increase our carrier density. I think the digital marketplace, there's a lot of misconceptions about that. At the end of the day, our motto is, move more with less, right? Yep. And that goes across all of the different services and all of the different products that we have here. And at the end of the day, we want carriers coming back, doing lanes consistently, servicing at a high level. And, if carriers are making that investment in us, we want to make that investment in them.
I like it, man. I think that's a great strategy. And I also think, like, again, with where we are, I know that they kind of alluded in about flatbed in this article a little bit, but I also think that, take into consideration, if you are a flatbed carrier out there, the entire infrastructure bill that is supposed to be rolled out this year from spending, like there's a lot of concrete and steel and all of that stuff that comes along with it that will be coming up. So I think if anything, flatbed and open deck freight is going to be in a pretty good position this year as a whole. But I also think, like, again, like if you're out there as a carrier, for me personally, like those essential household items, like if we, I believe we're in a recession. I don't think that we're not in a recession when you look at everything that's out there. But to those who argue the latter, more power to you. But if I was owned a trucking company, I would look at the commodities inside of my house that I'm going to buy no matter what. And that's where I would shift my attention because, people are going to be, well, I can't really say eggs because eggs are what they are right now. It's like the worth price of gold, but people are going to be buying that stuff. They're going to be buying their milk, their breads, their everything else. So look at those natural household items that you're going to buy no matter what and shift your focus towards that commodity for freight that you're going to haul.
Yeah, definitely. I think as a carrier, it's always it's important to have a diversified customer base. So that way you can kind of, withstand certain cycles and, peaks and valleys for, various different verticals.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, that article, you guys, was from the JOC. U.S. truck freight recession is here, but not to stay. And that came from the SMC3 conference out there in Atlanta. We're not going to get to the third article today. We try. Every time I have a guest on, I have 3 articles, but generally it just doesn't work out that way because frankly, I like people coming on here, Chris, and sharing their perspectives on things because just like John Giza said here, he's someone who's going through the initial process of a startup as an independent freight broker. Podcasts are available. Keep up the good work. John, I appreciate that. And again, like this is the importance of having transportation professionals on here talking about these real market situations that we find ourselves in today. Because like Chris and I have seen this, like we've seen this market time and time again. This is not an anomaly. And this is why this information is imperative. A lot of these headlines that you see out there might not be geared towards you guys succeeding for whatever reason. I don't know, but that's why I'm coming here every single day is to put this information out here for you guys so you guys can apply it and utilize it. Chris, how can anybody reach out to you to find out more? Are you guys hiring? Put that information out there, man.
Yeah, we are definitely hiring. Our business is continuing to grow, not only in the digital brokerage space, but also with some of our SaaS products. So we have OpenDoc, which is a doc scheduling and doc visibility software. We have Shipper Guide, which is a execution platform for shippers, particularly around the managed transportation space. And we also have Carrier TMS, which is a TMS for small to mid-sized carriers. So you can reach out to us. Obviously, go to our website, loadsmart.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, and we'll be able to connect there.
I appreciate it, man. Rick Wooten says, Dad always says you wouldn't get rich in the food business, but we got to eat. Amen to that. Chris Carmichael, good morning. Thanks for joining. And that's it for today, you guys. The Freight Coach Morning Show will be back tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central. And as always, you guys, if you guys saw value in this, share the show. Get it out there, you guys, because if you guys see value in this, your network's going to see value in this as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you